everyone, so today I wanted to give you guys a brief overview of Finn's diet. As you guys know, Finn is a lesser tenrec. He is not related to hedgehogs, so his dietary needs are different. As you guys saw from my video about starting mealworm farming, he does live off of a insect-based diet, and therefore he eats multiple different kinds of insects. This is not a tutorial. This is not going to go over every single one of their nutritional requirements. This is just what my tenrec eats. This isn't even everything he eats. This is just what I happen to have on hand now because we do rotate insects. So, without further ado, let me introduce you guys to Finn for those of you who haven't met him. This is Finn. Like I said, he's a lesser tenrec. He is almost 6 months old, just shy of it. He was born April 18th of 2016. He's very squirmy, probably has to go potty. As I mentioned before, Finn's diet is insect-based, which means the majority of his nutrition comes from his insects. So there are several things that I feed that aren't here with us today, and that is because I rotate the kinds of insects I feed on a regular basis. So I'll buy something a little bit different every single time, and the only thing that I keep fully stocked at all times is his staple, which is mealworms. These are mealworms here. I'm sure you guys have seen them before. These are live mealworms, not dried. I think these are about 10 here. This is his staple. This and superworms are very common as staple insects, as they offer the benefit of being able to easily be bought in bulk. So I can buy these thousands upon thousands at a time. I'm also breeding my own, so I don't have to buy them as frequently. So the next thing that I feed would be waxworms. Those are another favorite of his. Waxworms are very commonly used for fishing. So many of you may actually know what they look like. There's a waxworm. They're just fat, chubby little grub looking things. And those are kept in sawdust in what they come in smaller containers. I buy mine from Rainbow Mealworms. Now, even though I stated that those are most commonly used as bait, and that's where a lot of people will know them from, you have to be sure that when you're buying food for your tenrec that you are making sure you are buying food grade. That's why I order from Rainbow Mealworms. I will link their site down below. You want to make sure that everything is pet safe, that it is raised to be consumed, which means it doesn't have any, and there's the cat, which means it is raised without any pesticides or additional hormones or anything like that added into it. You want to be sure that you are making sure that you are feeding the safest insects you can find. So I'll just put those there because Finn has gone to sleep. Next we have, these are butterworms. So these are butterworms, and I just took 2 out of the container. They actually do stay in the same kind of container waxworms do. So that's what they look like. These are actually good for picky eaters. They tend to, I guess, taste good to the insect eaters. The reason I took them out is because butterworms tend to form like a donut web nest that they live in, and so I pulled a couple out for you guys to see. Next is a hornworm, and this is often referred to as the prettiest of the feeder insects. As you can see, it's a nice kind of turquoise color. They get their names obviously from the horn on their butt. You can see that there. These guys you want to be sure that you can feed off fairly quickly because they grow incredibly fast. I bought these when they were about this big. Yeah, about this big. About the size of his head. And I've only had them for about a week. So they grow incredibly fast. Next I have phoenix worms, and as you can see, they are the calcium rich feeder, which means they are full of natural calcium, which is very helpful because with tenrecs, as you'll see in a minute, they do need added calcium in their diets for the most part, especially when they're young. So as you can see, they're kind of difficult to see, but they're in there. They come in the containers that they remain in. So those are the feeders that I have on hand. Roaches are also incredibly popular. I actually don't have any on hand, but Finn does enjoy them. Crickets are popular. I don't have any on hand. Again, those sort of things I like to buy a very small amount because I don't personally like them. So I'll buy a small amount and feed them off. That way I don't have to store them for very long, and then I'll just buy more as I need them. It's really important to make sure you have a variety of feeder insects for your tenrec. As I mentioned, this is their main diet staple, so you want to be sure that you aren't sort of eliminating things from their diet, especially if your reasoning behind it is that you just don't like those bugs. These are not the type of pets that I would recommend to someone who is really terrified of insects, because realistically, this is their diet. This is what they need to eat. There isn't any way around it. You can't feed them only dry insects. You can't go and buy a bag of mealworms and expect them to survive off of it. And realistically, you really shouldn't be feeding only one kind of feeder. So if you think, oh, I can have one because I'm not afraid of mealworms, well, that isn't the correct way to look at it, because your tenrec's diet won't be nutritionally balanced. These are a requirement in their diet. There isn't a way around it. Okay? This is the kibble that Finn is on right now. It is the Missouri insectivore diet. It isn't the greatest quality, but that's what his breeder had him on when I got him, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish him out on it. Eventually I'd like to switch to a high protein, high fat kitten food. From makes a really good one that would work really well for him, I think. Since this isn't a staple in his diet, he actually doesn't eat a whole lot of it very frequently. It's okay to feed a lower quality food. This actually is fed by most breeders, and a lot of zoos as well feed it. It's one of the most recommended diets. But like I said, it is a pretty low quality. Again, because it's not their staple, it's sort of not as important to get them as high of a quality, especially because it's really important that you get them to eat whatever it is. Some tenrecs are very picky about kibble and will refuse to eat it. So if you can find one that they really like, most people just tend to stick with that. People feed a wholly raw diet where they don't include kibble at all. However, I find it really important to add kibble into my tenrec's diet personally, because for one, when you feed feeder insects, you can't actually take them with you if there is some sort of an emergency. I live in an area where we get frequent really bad storms and frequent tornadoes and things like that, and the last thing I want is to have to suffer some sort of disaster like that, only to realize that I can't actually feed my tenrec because I don't have any food for him that is portable. So that is definitely a major factor. There's also a factor of if you run out of a certain kind of insect and you're feeding only one, their diet becomes nutritionally unbalanced. These are almost like vitamins for them. Just making sure that they're getting a balanced diet. Now, as you can see, I included both a spoonful and a bowl full, and you'll see that in the bowl there is a white cast to the food, and I will show you why that is in just a second. Okay, so in the bowl of food where there was a little bit of a white cast to it, that is because powdered calcium is on it. Tenrecs are very, very prone to calcium deficiencies, and while their insects do offer generally the enough amount of calcium for them, it is recommended to supplement it when you can. I tend to put it in the kibble because he doesn't eat a whole bunch of that at once. He tends to take a couple bites each day, so I know he won't overdo it on the calcium. You can also do liquid calcium. This one happens to be a food spray, but it can actually be added to water, and that is specifically for when they are in torpor, which is similar to hibernation. And when they're in torpor, they tend to not eat, but they do continue to drink. So this way you're still getting in some calcium for them while they're not eating. You can sprinkle this onto their insects, though I found that pretty messy, and I also found that it was harder for me to control how much he was getting that way. So those are just something that is added to his diet. Alright, so in addition to all of the foods that he also gets an unlimited supply of water. Tenrecs cannot have water bottles. They won't use them. They don't understand them. They are completely unnatural for them, not even to where people say that they're unnatural for hedgehogs and stuff. They are completely unnatural for Tenrecs. They won't use them, which means they won't get any water, which means you need to have a tip-proof water bowl in the cage at all times. Finn's is one of those ergonomic living world bowls. He can't tip it. It holds a great amount of water. They thankfully aren't as messy as hedgehogs, so they don't walk in it all the time. And when they do, it's not like they're getting a bunch of poop in it. So that is a definite bonus. Now, in addition to their natural diet and their water, they can be fed treats such as meats and eggs, lots of protein things. A lot of the similar things that hedgehogs can have are what Tenrecs can have, even though they are unrelated. Finn doesn't tend to actually eat many treats. He is a general fan of meats and eggs, but that's pretty much that's pretty much where his desire for treats ends. But you can do little salads with fruits and veggies for them if you wish, as long as they are safe. I will leave links down below to places where you can learn a little bit more about Tenrecs. I know I don't have very much information about them on my channel, mostly because I am still new to them myself. So, like I said, because I'm still new to them, this is not a tutorial. This is just what Finn eats. This is what I've been recommended from the pages that I'm on and from his breeder and things like that. So, if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them down below. I'm going to try and keep this video nice and brief, just because it is just a very general overview of what he eats. So if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them down below and I'll answer them the best I can. And if you're curious about Tenrecs, go ahead and check out the links that I put in the description to learn some more about them. If you go to my Tenrec playlist, you can also see where I introduce him and what his cage looks like if you're curious. So thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you all next time. Bye!